The First Rule of Mastery by Michael Gervais. All right, real talk for a second. How many times have you stopped yourself from doing something you wanted just because you were worried about what people might think? Posting that video, starting that channel, trying something new. And then that little voice shows up. What if people laugh at you? What if you fail? What if everyone judges you? Yeah, that voice. Here's the crazy truth. That voice has silently killed millions of dreams. Careers never started, ideas never shared, talents never discovered. And the wild part? Most people spend their entire lives trying to impress people who are barely even paying attention to them. Now imagine this. What if you could completely break free from that fear? What if you could walk into any room, post anything online, chase any dream, without caring about judgment? Sounds impossible, right? But according to performance psychologist Michael Gervais, there is one simple rule that separates average people from elite performers. Athletes, entrepreneurs, creators, top performers. They all follow this one rule, and once you understand it, your mindset will never be the same again. But here's the twist. Most people think they understand this rule, yet they still fail to apply it. So stay with me until the end of this video, because there's a powerful insight waiting for you, something that explains why even confident people sometimes freeze under pressure. And once you hear it, you'll realize the real enemy was never failure. It was something else, something far more subtle. Let's get into it. Michael Gervais is a high-performance psychologist who has worked with Olympic athletes, world champions, and top business leaders. Through years of studying elite performers, he noticed something fascinating. The biggest obstacle people face isn't lack of skill, it's fear of people's opinions. Psychologists even have a name for it. FOPO, fear of people's opinions. And according to Gervais, FOPO is one of the most powerful forces controlling human behavior. Think about it. People stay in jobs they hate because they're afraid of disappointing others. People avoid chasing dreams because they fear judgment. People stay silent, even when they have brilliant ideas, not because they can't succeed, but because they're afraid of how others might react. And that's where the first rule of mastery comes in. The rule is simple. Stop worrying about what other people think. Sounds obvious, right? But actually, living this rule is incredibly difficult because our brains are wired for social approval. Thousands of years ago, being rejected by the tribe meant survival was at risk. So our brains developed a powerful alarm system. Whenever we feel judged, criticized, or rejected, the brain reacts as if we're in danger. Your heart rate increases. Your mind starts overthinking. Your confidence disappears. And suddenly, you hold yourself back. But elite performers train their minds differently. They don't eliminate fear. They learn to perform despite it. One powerful strategy they use is something called psychological flexibility.
Instead of trying to control every thought and emotion, they focus on their actions. For example, imagine a professional basketball player stepping up to take the final shot in a championship game. Thousands of fans are watching. Millions of viewers are judging. Pressure is intense. Does the athlete suddenly stop feeling fear? Of course not. But they've trained themselves to focus on the process: breathing, posture, movement, execution. They shift attention away from opinions and back to performance. And that's the key. Mastery isn't about being fearless. It's about staying focused on what matters, even when fear shows up. Now, here's another important insight from the book. Your identity shapes your behavior. If you see yourself as someone who constantly seeks approval, you'll keep acting that way. But if you start seeing yourself as someone who values growth over approval, everything changes. Instead of asking, what will people think? You start asking, am I improving? This simple shift creates freedom. Freedom to experiment, freedom to fail, freedom to grow. And ironically, when people stop chasing approval, they often gain more respect and influence because authenticity is powerful. People are drawn to individuals who are confident enough to be themselves. Now here's a practical method Gervais suggests. Every day, do something slightly uncomfortable. Speak up in a meeting, share an idea, post that video, start that project. Small acts of courage build psychological strength, just like muscles grow through resistance. Confidence grows through challenge. And over time, the fear of judgment begins to lose its power. You realize something surprising. Most people are too busy worrying about their own lives to constantly judge yours. That fear you had? It was mostly an illusion. But here's the interesting twist. Even elite performers sometimes fall back into FOPO. Even champions feel pressure. Even successful creators doubt themselves. The difference is, they don't let those thoughts control their actions. They acknowledge the fear and move forward anyway, because they understand a powerful truth. Your life becomes extraordinary the moment you stop living it for other people's approval. Now remember the suspense I mentioned at the beginning? Here it is. According to Michael Gervais, the biggest tragedy isn't failure, it's unused potential. The world is filled with talented people who never fully express themselves. Not because they couldn't succeed, but because they were too worried about what others might think. So the real question isn't, will people judge you? Because they probably will. The real question is, will you let their opinions control your life? And that decision is entirely yours. Because the moment you stop seeking permission from the crowd is the moment you begin mastering your own life. And that is the first rule of mastery.